Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Movie Mates video. I am Matthew, of course, joined by my wonderful co-host and best friend.
Callum.
Hey man, lovely to see you. So on today's video, we are back once again with another mini review this week, and it is of the new Nic Cage release, Willy's Wonderland. So it's a film I hadn't heard of until Callum mentioned it, so I'm going to pass over to Callum to explain what it's about and the breakdown of what we're going to be talking about. So yeah, off to you, mate.
So the film revolves around Nicolas Cage's character, the janitor, who rolls into a small town and accidentally damages his car, and in return for the in return for the cost of repairs of his truck, he has to spend a night cleaning this abandoned amusement center, Willy's Wonderland. But once he gets in there, things occur. The animatronic characters that are present there come to life. For unknown reasons. But we will find out. I think we'll be approaching this with an initial non-spoiler review because I don't think many people have actually seen this film.
Yeah, probably. I think so. I think it's a bit of a sleeper hit. I think that you'd call it. I suppose a bit of a cult
You're very
classic.
generous with the adjectives you're using.
Yeah, well, potentially, but yeah, I mean, just before we go off today's episode, this video will probably be added to our like horror film playlist as well. If you want to check that out, and yeah, as Callum said, non-spoilers and spoilers, time codes in our emails in the description below. And thanks to everyone who supported us recently. I know Callum and I really do appreciate that a lot. So, Callum, if you want to open the floor with your non-spoiler thoughts, but I'll chip in where I can.
Well, when it came to this film, I had very low expectations going in because it's called Willy's Wonderland, and it's adapted from a short film, so very very low expectations. But I was quite curious.
Yeah.
And the whole film sort of acts as an homage to old B horror films, or that's what it seems at least.
Yeah.
I was sort of gonna ask you, do you think it is an homage to that, or do you think the film is just so bad that that's exactly what it is? That there are lots of like quick cuts, lens flares, and zooms that are all uncomfortable and are clearly like that's a poorly shot film. But is that intentional, do you think?
I think it is for me anyway. I think this film is so self-aware. I think even casting Nicolas Cage is probably an indictment of that. Nicolas Cage, I absolutely love him, but and I think he definitely had some amazing performances. I mean, you've seen Raising Arizona. I know you're a big fan of that one. But yeah, I mean, this film is very sort of, you said to me, it's quite Five Nights at Freddy's style. Like that is exactly what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like it's these animatronic puppets come to life and try and scare you and kill you. So, I mean, I think it is an incredibly self-aware film. And I'm not sure. I think for me anyway, the film is even if it's self-aware, it's not necessarily an excuse for it to be very poorly shot. I mean, there's like 100 like cuts a second in some of the action scenes there. And I get it doesn't have the biggest budget, so it probably doesn't want to show too much in case it comes off as pretty made or anything. I think it had a budget of like 5 million or something. But I mean, yeah, I think it is incredibly self-aware, and I absolutely love it for that.
I mean, as I mentioned before, that this was adapted from a short film, and I think that's immediately identifiable. Even when you hear the concept of the film, like you know quite confidently, like the story just can't sustain a full film's runtime, and that there are just this is only 88 minutes, and I feel like there are extended periods where nothing happens, and I don't even know how that's possible in an 88-minute film. Like, why would you make this?
Like there is this isn't really a spoiler, but there's a recurring motif where Nicolas Cage character takes a break every 15 minutes or so and has like a soda and plays the games. And I think if you cut all that out, that is a good sort of 10 minutes or 15 minutes of the film, really. There is a lot that could be cut out. I think this film could have easily been sub 1 hour for me, but I think it's just so refreshing to have, like, for me anyway, like a horror protagonist that isn't scared of any of the animatronics. Like, it's so relieved. And obviously I don't know if I can edit this out if you want, but obviously the marketing of this film, there was no Nicolas Cage dialogue in the trailers, and this is a silent performance, which I think is very interesting as well.
No, I don't think that's a spoiler because I think it's evident that that's what they're going for, in the trailers, as you said. But I am just kind of pissed off because why would you hire like legitimate crazy man Nicolas Cage and give him no dialogue? Like, I just feel that like an insane Nic Cage performance would breathe a lot of life into this film. I would have thought the most logical way to like extend the runtime is to give depth to the protagonist, but because he doesn't utter anything, we don't even get a flashback. I don't think it's spoilery to mention what we don't see. You know, we see nothing of his life. You know, it's a nothing character and it's a nothing performance. You know, there's maybe one notable scene where, as you mentioned, you know, he plays pinball. I think near the end of the film, you know, he breathes a lot of life into that one scene. But I just don't really see how this, you know, character. I I don't really think the character allowed for, you know, I don't know what sentence I've written there, but you know,
I know what you mean.
we moved. It's
I know
not
what you
good.
mean. I know what you mean. Like I think for me, the curious thing is to whether this was a conscious choice by Nic Cage or the filmmakers, because it kind of seems like against Nicolas Cage as an entity for him to say sort of no, I want a silent performance. Maybe it would be in his character. I'm not too sure, but I think for me, I thought it was really refreshing that it was a silent performance, but I can 100% understand where you're coming from, buddy. Of course I can. You know, it does detract a lot from a film, especially when you see that a film is cast Nicolas Cage. You expect a lot of goofiness. You expect a lot of, you know, great line delivery of a bad script, those kind of things. But I don't know. The film it came across as a lot of different genres to me. So that it came across strangely like it is quite similar to his role as Ghost Rider, that sort of paranormal sort of weird activity there for me. And for me, it came across as like an Edgar Wright film almost, with like the quick cuts and stuff like that. Just maybe not as good as an Edgar Wright film potentially. But
Yeah,
I mean, I think the fact that it is what we were kind of saying, nothing much happens in it. I mean, all my notes are pretty much non-spoilers, to be honest with you. Even with the spoilers, like a lot of the scenes there are just cut and paste. They face off against another animatronic. Like it plays off like a video game until you get to the big boss at the end. Do you know? Does that make sense? Sort of thing.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I definitely see the Edgar Wright comparison, at least of what they're trying to achieve, not
Yeah.
necessarily what they did. I think there's a lot of similarities between this and The World's End, of
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, completely.
pulling
Oh yeah,
heads
there
off and you
is.
know
Yeah.
liquid pouring out, you know, so it's sort of similar visual motifs. What I was trying to say previously about his character was that you know he doesn't really give a performance, but you know that's maybe because the character just didn't allow for one. You know
Mhm.
what can you really do with a non-physical and non-verbal performance? You know,
It's a good
because of
point.
course you know there were silent films running amok, you know 100 years ago, but you know that was almost all you know slapstick physical comedy, but there
Yeah.
isn't really anything like that here. So it sort of he sort of struggles to make any kind of impression.
Yeah, I think
But
that's
you know,
fair.
regardless of the lack of performance, I did feel a sense of sadness for the character just you know watching him clean because there's sort of an extended sequence of you know him cleaning the entire amusement center. And you know, seemingly like this is an honest man doing something admirable to fix a problem he didn't create. And I don't know, I felt sad for him because he's been put in this situation
Yeah.
through no means of his own.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, like, you know, I don't think this is maybe a spoiler to say either, but it's interesting, you know, when I was on the Wikipedia for this film and stuff, and obviously you have to take what Wikipedia says with a pinch of salt, but apparently the director confirmed that there's a sequel to this in development, which I think is super, super exciting. You know, I think potentially you could go into the backstory of why Nicolas Cage's character doesn't speak, or as to why he feels compelled to keep cleaning. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's an interesting thing. Like, I thought they were maybe going to go down the sort of, you know, OCD kind of vibe there potentially. You know, I'm not too sure, but I don't know. I kind of felt like there was sort of a sort of a dark history behind the character, like a dark backstory that just was I was expecting to hint at, or I was expecting them to at least allow him to speak towards the end, but they just don't. So whether that's like a disorder with his character, I'm not too sure. But I mean, I just think the characters, for me anyway, it's so compelling because he's silent and there's so much left unknown that I can't wait for a sequel to see where they go with it, providing Nicolas Cage is going to be there, if you know what I mean. But don't get me wrong, but you know, I
Mhm.
100% can understand and sort of sympathize with your criticisms of it for sure.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of this film, you know, is sort of cliche, but you know, one refreshing trope was to see, you know, these rebellious teens who are actually trying to accomplish something admirable. Because you
Yeah,
know, I
yeah,
don't even think
absolutely.
we learn enough about them to call them cliche. Like, let's be honest, you know, we spend the most time with Nicolas Cage, but you know, it's entirely silent.
Yeah,
So the only characters we hear dialogue from are, you know, sort of the sheriff and the teens within the film. But the
yeah,
teens don't get too many lines, but at least their intentions seem noble, which I thought was
yeah.
refreshing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, the character of Liv in this film, I think she's like the main teen here, and I think her performance is decent. Like, it's not the worst I've ever seen. You know, it's very good, and I think I don't know. I just would have liked to see more expanded on with Nicolas Cage's character. I mean, it stands to reason. Like, they don't even give him a name, like you said in Wikipedia and stuff. They just call him the janitor, is quite strange. There's another film we reviewed recently where they just, oh, was it Tenet, where they just call him the protagonist, wasn't it? Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of, it's quite similar to that, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I just really can't wait for a sequel just to see where they go down. I think there is potential to have like a Five Nights at Freddy's style, sort of cult classic, genre here. Maybe not genre is the right word, but like franchise here. I know maybe this wasn't your cup of tea, but I think this film, for me anyway, like it's just such an easy like popcorn flick where you can sit back and watch it and enjoy it. Like, I can't wait for a sequel personally.
Yeah, and I will keep just shitting on it, I guess. But the antagonists within the film, which are the animatronics within the center,
Yeah,
to me, this film is so bizarrely played because I think it's playing a lot of the scares for laughs, but for me the
yeah,
antagonists aren't funny or scary. So this sort of B horror movie angle doesn't really work for me because I think you at least need to laugh at how ridiculous it is.
yeah,
So I mean, it's more just this is bad than this
yeah.
is them mocking the idea of it being bad and it's funny.
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be such a weird comparison, but they kind of reminded me of like Evil the Tweenies. If you ever watched the Tweenies and CBBS back in the day, like it really reminded me of that. Do you ever remember that show?
I do vaguely remember it.
Yeah, yeah, because it's clearly like humans in these animatronic bodies, isn't it? Like it's so weird. But yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. Obviously, there is a certain twist in there regarding the origin of the animatronics, so we'll get into that in spoilers later on. But
Mhm.
as what I can say now is, I think you're right. I think they're almost too cute and cuddly to be scary, almost. If that makes sense. Like, then it's hard to explain. Like, I'm not like the film kind of plays the jump scares for laughs. Like, there isn't even much
Yeah.
jump scares, to be honest with you. And so I don't know. I think the tone of the film is quite confused between it wants to be serious, it wants to be taken seriously with the horror aspect and stuff. But then it kind of wants just to be a popcorn flick that you can just laugh at the cute, cuddly animatronics and stuff like that, and the irony of that. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, Callum, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, because I think they disarm every tense moment with humor, but all the humor falls flat. So I feel like they failed on both fronts.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And they're like, yeah, I mean, they're so easily sort of handled, shall we say, in the fight scenes as well. Um, but yeah, that wraps up my points on non-spoilers. Callum, anything from yourself?
Just a few quick comments.
Go for it.
As I said, I didn't find the film really funny or scary, but I am at least glad it's bloody because when it comes to a
Yes,
horror
yeah,
film, I like bloody gory visuals. I mean that may be a sort of a desensitization to violence, but when it comes to horror film, that's sort of
yeah.
the thrill that
You want
you're
to see guts
trying
and
trying to
gore.
access. So I mean,
Yeah,
I yeah, that is
yeah.
probably my favorite type of horror film. We sort of talked about this with Freaky, but what sort of side of horror do you prefer? Do you prefer like the
It's funny you
sort of
say that.
quiet
Yeah.
thriller, or do you prefer like gory slasher stuff?
I think back a few years ago I definitely preferred the silent thriller where there's always a good wee twist in there, and that still stands true today. But for me, with films like Freaky and this one, and obviously the other horror films to that degree, like I do find myself liking them a little bit more as well. I think for me the best horror films are the ones where you're simultaneously like enthralled, engaged, and sort of scared, but also like there is humor in there. Like I think horror, like I think like we mentioned with Freaky, man, like horror is a genre that works perfectly with sort of humor. I find anyway. So horror films like Get Out, while they're not necessarily funny, like I just love that thriller aspect. But likewise with Freaky and Willy's Wonderland and films like that, I can also appreciate like the slasher sort of funny. It's like a film, Jigsaw. Like I quite like that type of film where it's just
Hmm.
like guts and gore. There's no real big. There's a twist
Torture
in there as
porn,
well. What is it? Sorry.
yeah, torture porn. I believe is the the sort of genre
Yeah,
description for
sucker
that.
for that. Yeah, yeah,
But
exactly.
what
But yeah,
what what would be your favorite horror film?
that's a really good question. I think for me, um, I think Get Out has to be up there. For personally, I really love that. Daniel Kaluuya is fantastic. I don't really watch much horror films, to be honest with you. But there's a film on Netflix. I can't remember what it was called. What was it called? It was like I don't know what it was called, but it was like those type of films where there's like this family goes to this abandoned sort of sort of they go to this like rural cottage, and then there's always like a weird killer there. He has to kill each one of them and stuff, like Final Destination types as well. I quite like, but yeah.
Oh, do you mean the one where they're wearing like the poster has them like holding an axe and they're wearing like
Yes,
bunny masks and stuff?
it's no, it's not bunny. It's like God, what's it called? It's like
Like
this
fox
family.
masks or something.
Well, it's this family, and like this like serial killer like makes sort of he makes sort of like these carvings of things out of the trees and stuff like that, and like it's weird, like they go to this sort of that this family goes to this sort of cabin in the woods style. It's not called Cabin in the Woods, I don't think. It's this cabin in the woods, and then basically this killer who's like been on it, like it's his land or something. It's weird. If I knew the name of it, I'd say, but I can't remember it. It's on Netflix.
I'm sure we'll find out by the end.
Yeah.
Like as in after we finish recording this, I'm sure we'll
absolutely.
find out.
Yeah, for sure. What about you? Any favorites? I think we did a classic horror film episode, like those. The Omen and Exorcist are very good.
That is actually my answer, because saying before, widely when it comes to the genre, I do prefer sort of bloody slasher horror films. I think my absolute favorite is probably The Omen, and I think it's
good. Yeah.
It's down to probably Greg. I don't really like the bit with where he's being like chased by dogs or something. I think that there's a point near the end of the film where like he goes to see whether he can find like the body of his son, and then he's like attacked by hellhounds or something. That part didn't really appeal to me, but
yeah,
I think Gregory Peck's performance, and also that one just like really chilling moment, which is
this is all for you.
Yeah, like that is one of my favorite moments in all of cinema, where the nanny commits suicide. Damien, it was all for you. Like it's just so fucked. Like that is honestly just one of the most standout chilling moments in any film, really.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. Yeah, I was literally about to say that scene is probably the scariest scene of all time for me. It's definitely up there. It's not even because it's like it's gory or anything. It's just the fact that like it looks so real. Like it looks like if someone's just jumped off the top of a church or that tall building or whatever. I think it is a church, but something like that.
And the line delivery.
Yeah, it is all for you. It's it actually brings shivers on my spine, mate. It really does. But yeah, I mean, I think generally horror films, it's not a genre I've been really a big fan of until recently. Like obviously we've reviewed a lot more than that as the channel's progressed, like we're reviewing a lot more recently. So and yeah, I mean this Halloween, I'm sure we'll get stuck into a lot of horror films. Like there's a lot of horror films I just haven't seen. It's just a genre I've neglected really until recently. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the genre now. Big fan.
Yeah, I just don't seek them out. Like I'll watch a romantic comedy or a horror film on the channel. I just won't seek one out.
Yeah, no, maybe sorry. I think my internet's nearly a wee bit laggy there. Sorry, can you hear me okay still? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear. You can hear you fine. Do you need to check on your food or anything?
Oh no, all good, mate. All good. Sorry, I just got a message from McDonald's there, so we're all good. Any more remarks from you, bud?
No worries. Nothing else from me, Matthew. Did you want to go into your massive hit or piece of shit rating?
Well, it's got to be a massive hit for me, buddy. I love the fact that Nicolas Cage is so over the top here. It's classic Nicolas Cage fashion. I'm a big fan of the slasher horror here. I think the action, although it's very poorly shot, it never had me bored. But yeah, apart from that, I can't wait for a sequel. And obviously, by the end we'll get into the twist. I actually quite like the twist in there as well. But yeah, massive hit for me. What about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I think when it comes to sort of the B horror movie angle, I think it's unintentional. I think it's just a bad film. I don't think it's like I don't think it's a a clever homage. That this is probably the shortest film I've ever seen that felt like such an eternity. Like it felt like I was watching this for 3-4 hours maybe. When it doesn't even hit an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would have never chosen to watch this film, but it's so weird that I'd kind of recommend it. Because it felt like an experience. Sort of sitting there, just sitting down for an hour and a half and subjecting yourself to it just felt like so much longer. It felt like an experience. Yeah. It was bad and weird, but kind of fun. I'm kind of conflicted. Quality wise, absolutely a piece of shit. Like I think it's unintentionally bad. I think it is just a bad film. But it was so weird. I kind of liked it. I'm still gonna have to give it a piece of shit. I think because I don't think the fun outweighed the quality issues.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the critical reception behind it. Like, I think it is a film that'll definitely divide a lot of people, to be honest with you. But
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely see a sequel, not just for the fact that we'd have to review it for the channel, but I'd be curious to see whether, because I mean, sometimes bad films that you have to admit are objectively bad, you can still enjoy.
yeah, no, I think so. I think so. I think that's definitely stands to reason that's true. I suppose, mate, into spoilers then. I think the big thing with this film was I suppose I suppose you could call it a twist with the sheriff in the film. I forget her name, but she sort of made a deal with these animatronics to sort of say, we'll feed you, we'll provide these sort of like these sort of nomads, these travelers, these people who just travel the the country, I suppose, like Nicolas Cage's character, and in exchange for you not harming any of our citizens. So it's a twist that like I didn't necessarily see coming, but I sort of thought there would be a twist in here, like that so much is left unknown that I kind of thought they had to have something in there for a bit of substance. What about yourself, mate?
Yeah, the surprise to me wasn't that uh, the sheriff or the townspeople were providing the people. It was that Liv was so adamant to destroy the place because she's been living with a person that she's aware has made this deal. I thought that there would be a disconnect where all the adults are aware and then all the kids are aware of what's happening, but they aren't aware of the deal that the
Yes,
parents
yeah,
made.
I know
So
what
it
you mean.
was it was a surprise to me that they're living in this sort of harmonious existence where everybody is sort of a don't ask, don't tell kind of policy where they just don't mention the fact that they've made this
Yeah, yeah.
horrifically immoral deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true actually, because yeah, that Liv is quite clearly aware that her like adoptive mother has done these horrible things. And obviously, I think it's revealed that Liv's parents were actually killed by Willie and his other animatronic animals and stuff. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
was that a huge surprise to you?
wasn't no, it wasn't me. It wasn't, to be honest. I actually didn't really click together that Liv was the sheriff was Liv's adoptive mother. To be honest with you, I didn't really click that at the start, even though I did find it strange. Like she handcuffs her in this sort of cabin. I thought what's going on here? But yeah, I didn't actually put that together stupidly until later on in the film.
Weird policy of this small town.
Yeah, yeah, with the sheriff's department, I know, quite strange.
And one other thing that sort of stuck with me within the film was the fact that they clearly made this this deal with the devil, to be reincarnated on Earth, through these animatronic characters. But it just surprised me the fact that they're powered by the devil clearly, but they need to be mechanically functional in order to operate. Like
Yeah,
Nicolas Cage, rips out their mechanics, and they're just fucked.
yeah, I know, and I
Back to
suppose it
hell, I
was.
guess.
Yeah, I think the satanic cult sort of decal was a little bit cliche for me. Like it is quite a common theme in horror films, I suppose, isn't it? And I don't know. I think throughout the film, I was kind of expecting a potential twist in there with like the recurring motif of Nicolas Cage's characters keeping drinking the soda. I thought they were gonna like poison him slowly throughout the film or something to that degree with that, or something like that. But I don't know. The twist in there I didn't necessarily expect it, but I was expecting a potential twist with Nicolas Cage's character, to be honest with you. But no, we didn't actually get that. But yeah, the satanic cult thing, it's quite strange that they're just dead after he just destroys them, isn't it? You'd think they keep on existing, but no.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to his janitorial skills, the cleaning
Top
of that
tier.
bathroom alone earned him the repairs in my mind.
He gets
That
rid of it.
bathroom
He
was
gets rid of the.
disgusting. I don't know how you
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
don't know how you rub paint off a brick wall.
He's a talented man, and it's Nic Cage, mate, who we've recently discovered is Nick Coppola after the Godfather films. So I recently discovered that
Mm.
anyway. He's capable of anything, my friend. And strange, like he looks in great shape as well, Nicolas Cage. I've got to say, for a 57-year-old man, it reminded me of the Ghost Rider days. I do. They're like my guilty pleasures of superhero films, to be honest. The old Nick Cage ones.
Have you seen the second one?
I've seen the second one. It's so bad, but
That's unwatchable.
oh yeah, Idris Elba's in that as well, isn't he? God.
I
Um,
can't I can't believe Idris Elba said yes to that.
neither can I. Neither can I. We'll probably review them one day in a few years. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, once we've reviewed every other film that's ever been made,
yeah,
we'll
and
get to
then
Ghost
we'll
Rider
do
1
them.
and 2.
Yeah, and then we'll do them.
And of course, we see the cliche of the couple having sex in the wrong place. And quite honestly, I've never felt so strongly about the fact that these people deserve to die. I
Yeah,
have referred to them as the shaggers in my notes.
top
But
shaggers.
just having sex in a known satanic sacrifice site, you got what was coming to you.
Bit dodgy, as Joe Weller would
Yeah,
say.
I mean, the fact that they were both turned on by the fact that children had been murdered there, I don't feel too bad for their
There's
death.
one
I'll be
line in
honest.
there I quite like when the girl goes, "That thing's watching us," and then the dude goes, "Well, let's give him a show then." I was like, "Wow, that is what a line that is." Top shaggers, top shaggers. But yeah, that scene, it's probably one of the worst ones in the film. So it is for sure.
Pretty dreadful, yeah.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. Like this film also has a pretty hilarious death scene at the end with I think the guy's name is Tex or something. The guy who's sort of a co-conspirator as well. The whole mystery behind the amusement park, and yeah, just hilariously gets blown up in a car with his mate. I think they have the song "Free Bird" there as well by Leonard Skinner. It's kind of but from the Kingsman film as well. So I was kind of expecting like an all-out just war by the end, but no. I thought it was a quite funny ending though with that dude.
Yeah, and we've mentioned Nicolas Cage, of course, a few times being the lead of the film, but when it comes to his sort of attack on the machines, he pretty much single-handedly took down half of the animatronics, and he takes down almost the entirety of the rest. And yet the sheriff's reaction was, to just leave him there cuffed rather than to just help him take out, the limited few that were left, because it's clearly easy, like
Yeah.
one like smack to max, like one, head smack to a wall and they're fucked. So I mean, just help them out, and then you're free of this entire curse.
Yeah, the animatronics were far from formidable in the film, weren't they? It kind of makes me think if the families were trapped in there where it was two people, like Liv's parents, it kind of got me thinking like surely they could have taken them down. Like if one Nicolas Cage can do it, a family could do it. Do you know what I mean? So kind of makes me think what's going on here, because they're clearly quite easy to kill, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they just didn't try, because my instinct wouldn't be that I could punch an animatronic in the face and be fine. I
Yeah,
would
that's
imagine
true.
I would
Yeah.
shatter my hand. But within the rules of this universe, you're absolutely fine. I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty sure we do see Liv, take down a few, with just like a little knife or something.
Yeah.
But Nicolas Cage, to be fair, I think there are some sort of performance enhancing drugs within those, within those
The
energy
sodas.
drinks.
Yeah, I know. Like,
I mean, clearly there's like meth or something in there, or
has to be.
so some sort of
Has to be.
juicer. So I don't know why I can't afford the 2.5K for the repairs, but you can afford
And a very nice
however
car
many
as
drugs
well.
are
He's
in there.
got a lovely car. But yeah, kind of. I thought they were gonna kill him off towards the end of the film. I really did. I'm surprised they didn't, to be honest with you, mate.
Yeah, I mean, just to get out of the small town, like you'd sell some of the car parts, to get more integral ones, just to get out of the town. Because
Yeah.
I mean, any small town in these kind of films is just immediately fishy.
Yeah. Did it kind of remind you? Obviously, we've mentioned it's quite similar to the Edgar Wright film. Did it kind of remind you of Hot Fuzz in the sense that there's a police conspiracy here in this small town where people go missing? It really did remind me of Hot Fuzz in a sense, actually.
Yeah, that this film, I think we talked recently about another film that people weren't massive fans of, but that sort of like cherry picked, pieces of the genre and sort of
Oh,
comprised it into a better film. I think we said something about that in the map of tiny perfect things, but I feel
yeah.
like we
Was
mentioned
it
it in
Space
something else as
Sweepers as
well.
well? I think we mentioned Space
Yes,
Sweepers.
it was Space Sweepers, because it sort of cherry picked every good part of the sci-fi genre and stitched together to make this great but fresh film.
Yeah.
And here, they cherry pick pieces of the horror genre, and then they put it together and it just falls completely flat. Like it's
I know what
it's
you
an
mean. Yeah.
insane mess. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's the devil conspiracy, the police conspiracy. There's the main silent character. Like there was
Yes,
all these
yeah, it's a good
cliches that
point.
just
It's a very
that
good point.
amounted to a worse thing than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that one.
And we mentioned, of course, well, you just mentioned, the police conspiracy, and honestly, the sheriff was insufferable. I was so happy to see her get killed.
Yeah, yeah, it's 100%. Like she was a bastard, to say the least. Yeah, I know. I think she kind of reminded me of Frances McDormand a little bit. Just I got those vibes from her, like a Holly Hunter style vibe. Obviously, she was in Raising Arizona, I think, as well. But yeah, I think Nicolas Cage is one of those actors where I'd love to just do a Nicolas Cage podcast. You'll review all the classics like Face Off, those kind of things. I think that'll be a really fun one because I think he is quite good. I think he's very talented. He's very self-aware.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. The last 5 years or so have been murky. he did Left Behind, I think, in 2014,
Yeah, he
and
did.
it was a mess. Apparently,
Yeah,
I haven't seen it, but I
it's
think
not bad. It's not
I
bad.
think aside from this film, I think the most recent Nicolas Cage film I've seen is probably, well, there's Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, and also The
Kick-Ass.
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, there is Kick-Ass, but like Sorcerer's Apprentice, have you seen it?
haven't seen it, mate.
I genuinely don't remember. Like, I loved it as a child, but I genuinely don't know if it's the worst film ever made.
Really? That bad?
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
my
I
god.
mean, people say it's dreadful, but I remember having, a great time with it, but I was a small child, so I
A little
mean, maybe
boy.
maybe we can watch it now that it's on Disney Plus and reflect.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. For sure, for sure. Any more points with
I
Willy's
thought it was
Wonderland?
very presumptuous of Liv at the end to get in the janitor's car and just
Yeah,
because I mean there's sort of a weird lingering eye contact throughout the film between the two of them, and I guess it's to suggest that there's sort of this
Joel and Ellie
unspoken
vibe.
connection,
Yeah,
to quote WandaVision, but nothing dodgy, hopefully. But there's this sort of unbroken eye contact at the end, which to me was sort of like a, I don't know, an unspoken poignant goodbye. But then she just hops in
and
his sports
it
car
was,
and they
yeah,
drive away.
yeah. I know what they do, don't they? I'm so glad they didn't do anything noncy there. I'm so so glad they didn't ruin Nicolas Cage's
Well, to
character.
be fair, we don't get an age pinned on her.
That's true. That's true. I'd imagine she's maybe. We'll not go into it.
The
But
actress is about 22 or something, but we don't need to get into it because
yeah,
thankfully the movie doesn't.
drop my mic. One of those days. I'll let that out. But yeah, I mean, I think with her character, I kind of felt like there was kind of a poignant goodbye. You're right, and I don't know if she'll return for the sequel. I'm not sure whether they could go down with the sequel, to be honest. Maybe the
They
resurgence
couldn't
of the
even make
animatronics.
one good film.
I think this film's going to be very divisive. Like, I really do, really do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think enough people are watching it to sort of form an opinion. But
Yeah,
I think people who do watch this film will probably be older people who would have nostalgia for this kind of genre
yeah,
of
agreed.
the B horror film, because
Mhm.
we don't really see that anymore aside from like very low budget sort of
Yeah,
no name actors, but here, spearheaded by Nicolas Cage, it's kind of just inexcusable that this is the level of quality it is, because I don't think it's intentional. Like, if I was convinced it
yeah,
was this sort of throwback, I'd sort of respect it for that, but
yeah.
I really don't.
No, I think that's fair, mate. I think that's fair. I don't think I don't think that's a hot take or anything. I think that's a very fair assumption, to be honest. Um, I, I think I think it's going to be one of those films where they say a sequel is going to be made, but then they never do it. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be that scenario. But I'd like to see where they go with it. See if they can improve as well. But I mean that wraps up my thoughts on the film. But is there anything from yourself?
Nothing else for me, Matthew.
Well, I mean, if I suppose, did you want to rate it out of 10 then? I suppose we sometimes do that from any reviews. So I'm kind of thinking, what would you give it for quality and enjoyment?
Well, I think, as I said, quality is low, and I don't think it's self-aware of that fact. So that's going on a lower tier. But my enjoyment was fairly high. I resented the fact that I was sat there for what seemed like 3-4 hours, but it was an experience. It was
Yeah,
it was dumb fun. So that does raise it slightly. I'd probably give it a 6.5.
6.5. Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think quality is probably a 7. Obviously, we've mentioned it's very the editing's not great. There's just blatant points where nothing happens. It feels like a good 20-30 minutes could have been cut out here. And then for I think for enjoyment for me, it has to be up there with the 9. I absolutely love this sort of slasher horror genre for me anyway. And Nicolas Cage it's always a delight for me. So yeah, probably a 9. I suppose that wraps up though another mini review on the channel. Like we kind of saying, this will be added to our horror film playlist or mini review playlist and stuff like that. So if you want to check out our other videos, we recently reviewed obviously Freaky, New Mutants, those kind of horror films as well. And yeah, thanks very much for today, buddy. Appreciate your time, and
Thank you.
yeah, thanks very much to everyone who's watched. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts on Willy's Wonderland down below. We'd love to hear them. And of course, time codes on our email, moviematespodcast@gmail.com, is in the description. So yeah, hope you guys are all well. Your family and friends are all safe and well too. Take care, everyone, and bye bye.
Bye bye.